Do you know what would be better than you being fired? Because actually, I'm not intensely keen on this cancel culture.
Did you sign the petition to be fired?
I did, because you don't seem to want to learn.
You want to cancel
what is so
my
difficult
livelihood?
about letting people
and you
live
have
their
the gall to
lives?
sit here and talk about, why are you so offended? Let me tell you why I'm so offended.
Piers, I don't talk like that.
Piers is not afraid to show the world how insane this wokeism culture is.
Well, no, but if I asked you, for example, should biological males be allowed to compete in women's sport? What would you say?
This is a crazy question that I'm not here to talk about.
What would you say?
Because it's not something
You can't
I'm an
answer,
expert
can you?
on. I'm not an expert on it.
No. Let me ask you a question. Do you understand and appreciate?
What are all these dog whistles and talking points?
They're not dog whistles and talking points. They are legitimate areas of concern. You can't just call everyone who disagrees with you transphobic.
Please.
Piers Morgan is known for his bold, outspoken personality on live TV.
I mean, I don't know why you're obsessed with defining it. Like, what is a man? Like, why do we need these arbitrary...
A man is a male, adult human. I mean, that's it. Why can't I identify as a black lesbian?
Well, I'm representing my members. I'm not giving you nothing personal. This ain't personal.
Okay, what is a woman?
What's that got to do with the price of bread, Piers? Guys, ask the next guest.
What is a woman?
A woman is someone who defines as a woman, period, done.
Anyone?
Next guest, please.
Anyone? Okay, I'm a woman. Is that, yeah?
I said next guest because that's not my segment.
He is often seen raising and correcting ideas on woke culture. So in today's video, we will watch Piers Morgan totally destroying woke guests on his show. Let's start with one of our most heated debates to date of Piers Morgan and President of the National Union of Students Larissa Kennedy discussing free speech at universities these days.
So what is a university? What is it? I mean, it used to be a place that our bright young minds would go to expand those minds, to be challenged, to take risks, to take part in rigorous debate with people who may implacably disagree with them, and then maybe reach a point of consensus and go and have a beer together, have some fun. That was what universities used to be about. But look at what they've become. They've become these cotton wool, bubble-wrapped hellholes where the enemy is free speech, where there's a charge for safe spaces, where everyone gets triggered. You're representing the National Union of Students. What's going on at our universities? Why have you all become the enemy of free speech? Why do you all get triggered by everything? Why have you all become such snowflakes?
Interesting that you want to position students as enemies of free speech when it's the very opposite. In fact, this report shows that so many students are welcoming the idea of a free speech champion, but also are welcoming the idea that we can hold multiple truths, that yes, we have to uphold freedom of speech, but we also need to put in place protections to make sure that our campuses are a safe space for the evolving people who are coming into them.
What does that mean?
And if you want to ask what that means, it means that when you've got someone who has views that are obviously going to spark outrage, that you give a heads up to the people coming. These are common sense. People on the ground agree that these are just common sense things to avoid any...
I don't know who you're talking to, but they don't.
I don't know who you're talking to.
Most people think this is all completely crackers.
What is crackers?
Well, let me go through.
Crackers?
What do you need trigger warnings for about stuff you may read or stuff a professor may say? Why do you need trigger warnings? I mean, what happens? You literally have this sound.
I think this is a pretty
Does that go off?
Obviously, you don't do that. I think what we're seeing here is actually what the report warns about. It's people like you who are creating these kind of inflammatory headlines and responses to what is a pretty
I've just read the report.
Issue.
No,
you've
I've
said
just
that there's going to be
report.
a sound played out in classrooms. That's not what's happening in universities. If it was a joke, it wasn't very funny.
That was a joke. You may not find my humour funny, but it was intended as a joke.
Piers invited her to discuss why they easily become triggered when free speech is mentioned, and not the way around cause she keeps triggered with his response.
Of limits that have been always put on freedom of speech, then you also don't believe in freedom of speech. You believe in freedom from consequence, and those are different.
What I can't get my head around is that 86% of students now want trigger warnings on course content, which might upset students.
All we're really saying here is that it's going to note what's in the course. That's called a bibliography.
What would you find too painful?
Are you against bibliography?
What would you find?
Are you against bibliography?
What would you find?
Are you against?
Let me ask you. Let me ask you.
As their representative, this woman is prime example of what is wrong with universities now. Next, we have these trans athlete activists actually saying that men who identify as a woman can actually be involved in women's sports. How bizarre is this?
I'm a big Messi fan, but let me just explain this to you.
Answer my question. Would you allow him, if he said I'm a woman, to play in the American women's national team?
You're using the wrong pronoun
Yes, right now. Hell yeah, are you kidding me?
Wow.
Messi on the U.S. women's national team? Hell yeah.
Would you
because
allow
that would
Usain
mean-
Bolt to do that and be in the sprinting
Yes,
team?
because that would mean they're a trans woman. They identify as women.
I get
You would have
it.
to
So just to be clear,
transition.
you'd let Lionel Messi play in the women's national football team and destroy
Hell yeah,
women's football
welcome.
forever. You'd let Usain
I mean, it'd be
Bolt...
very difficult
Hang on.
to get a ticket,
Hang on.
which would suck.
I want to do a little checklist here. You'd let Usain Bolt compete as a sprinter in the American women's Olympic team.
Yes.
Okay. You would
Yes.
let Floyd Mayweather compete as a boxer in the women's American boxing
Yeah.
team.
Yeah,
you
of
are a
course you have to be,
complete
like, the
and utter
heavyweight, no.
lunatic.
A man and a woman competing each other? What is there even a debate about whether a biological men should be allowed to compete in women's sports? On the next interview, Piers debates with a man who identifies as gay and a member of LGBTQ community. And guess on what topic we will be debating on fungi's sexuality? Gay mushrooms.
Launch this show with the idea of talking about gay mushrooms.
Yes.
That's why you launched
In
this.
fact, I have
You didn't
some
want to
gay
interview the
mushrooms
Prime
here.
Minister, you just wanted
Well,
to do a segment
thank you.
about queer mushrooms.
Thank you for teeing up my gay mushrooms.
Wow.
They don't look very gay. I
Wow.
mean, they look like normal mushrooms to me.
Well-
are you feeling a gay connection to these mushrooms?
Listen, I feel a gay connection to a lot of things, Piers, including yourself right now.
Really?
I would say that mushrooms scientifically have about 23,000 different genders. So that's where this exhibit is coming from.
23,000 genders of mushrooms.
Exactly.
Wow. Mushrooms are in eukaryotic breeds. They don't even have a gender identity. Well, Piers is not afraid to stand still to his belief and debates every woke guest on his show.
Why do you think Piers is so offensive?
Well, I think the way that Piers talks about trans people, and specifically non-binary people, is that you mock them, you make fun of them, you use them as entertainment, you use the lives of real people in this country, a vulnerable minority, as something to make fun of and get a reaction. And I don't think that's the quality journalism
When
that
has
you
he
do
done
elsewhere.
that?
Well, be
for example,
specific, be
well,
specific.
when you claim that you're a two-spirit penguin.
Yeah, you know why I did that? You want me to respect all those 100 genders, however
I do.
ludicrous some of them are, but you have zero respect for my right to identify myself in any way I see fit. So in other words, it's one
No.
rule for you. You say everyone's entitled to say they can be whatever they want. But the moment I decide that I want
No,
to be a
Piers.
two-spirit penguin, you go absolutely nuts and
No,
want to
that's
control
not how it works,
I
Piers.
self-identify.
That's not
That
how it
is the
works.
point I'm making. That is not transphobic.
Okay,
That
yeah.
is exposing a flaw
It is.
in your position.
I'm a cisgendered male, and I feel
So you're-
happy
you're-
to be comfortable in that.
Gender is
Cisgendered
because
means
it's
I
not
was
a wide,
born as a
horrible
man, and
language.
I was born as a man, and I identify
You're a
as
male.
man.
Some people, I totally understand and sympathise with people who have an issue with gender stereotyping. But 100 ways to define
But what
yourself?
this is an umbrella term of non-binary people who don't consider themselves male or female, and these
Okay.
are the terms we have for them to identify.
Okay, but 100?
Well, I mean, those are the different terms that people have accepted
many
to
can you name?
describe different ones.
How many can you name?
Well, we're not going to go into that because you don't need to be a world gender expert. You just need to be compassionate, Piers.
No.
And the
no.
please.
Your idea of compassionate and mine are two different things.
Yeah.
I've seen the compassion shown to me in the last week. It's zero. It's
Yeah.
just abuse, right?
The problem with woke culture is that it demands conformity, silencing anyone who dares to think differently. But Piers is here to remind, debate isn't hate, and facts he doesn't care about anyone's feelings. And that's how defends himself by throwing nothing but straight up facts. This next guest believes that if anyone, can identify as anything they want to become. And this made Piers furious.
Why can't I identify as a black lesbian?
Well, firstly, I mean, it was.
I'm serious. If I can identify as anything without any need to prove I'm actually what that is.
So the woke community is saying that anyone at any age and race can identify as anything limitlessly. In that case, we all can identify as billionaires and never worry or attempt to work again. Now in the US and UK, they are teaching kids to identify as anything they want, even as cats, dogs, and even horses. A human being who wants to become a cat or a horse at the age 12 is showing a difficult mental issue.
When I was at school, I had a girl who identified as a horse, but not in this sort of like problematic way that we're now labeling it. She didn't actually think she was a horse. She was just quite strange and walked around and, you know.
But this woke teachers and activists says it's totally their right to become whatever they want to become. This doesn't stop here. Woke's HSBC teams are now pushing out adverts that are against men, which are dedicated to young girls brainwashing them that they don't need a man in their life, referring to well-known children's book stories. They used influential young tennis player Emma to push out this idea, empowering girls and women to start their own business.
So in the end, the princesses didn't need a prince to save them. They set up their own businesses, saved their money, and then spent it very wisely. Thanks to our princesses, Ace has learnt some new money skills. Maybe you'll buy a tower one day, or set up your own shoe business, or any business you want. Now that you've learned how to save and spend money, you can do anything.
As a general is great, but not by making them hate men, or warning them not to ask any help from any men. At the end of the day, Piers is not just destroying these woke activists, he is making a broader point for society, especially for the younger generation, for them to fully understand the right ideology. What do you think about Piers? Is he being a voice for the truth ideology, or is he just stirring the controversial topics? Let us know in the comments.